Welcome back to KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle. We told you about Governor Pillen's memo to state agencies, find 5% savings. Chronicle's John Grindwald's talked to the governor and explains what his plan calls for.
Know the system, control the system, that all of us learn our business better, that we run government like a business.
The new fiscal year started this month, so Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen is telling the several agencies he oversees to roll up their sleeves.
We're going to keep shrinking government every year. We'll be doing something more. I don't care what the revenue stream is. We are going to shrink government.
Pillen calls for a cut in state spending by at least 5%, but Justin Hubley, the director of the Nebraska Association of Public Employees, says there isn't any slack left in the budget.
I don't know how much more you can possibly cut. We're already dealing with state turnover is about 21% each year. The governor's already closed vacant positions.
Hubley says that in turn will force employees to do more with less.
This means more work for them, which means their fellow Nebraskans aren't being served in the best way that they know that they can if they were fully staffed.
We already knew that the state's 49 lawmakers would need to grapple with a serious budget deficit at the start of next year. But that deficit only seems to grow. With each passing month, Nebraska's net tax receipts dip below projections.
We have an ever-growing structural budget deficit that has ballooned under Governor Pillen's mismanagement.
Senator Danielle Conrad pins the blame on income tax cuts she says mainly benefit the wealthy. But Pillen says the state's cash flow is just fine, touting a AAA credit rating.
You think we're getting that rating because we're broke? Don't think so.
Pillen also calls on department directors to hand over monthly cash flow projections and says they can't fill vacancies without approval from the state budget division. What critics call micromanaging, Pillen says is about accountability. Reporting for KETV News Watch 7, I'm John Grindwald.
And right now I am joined by Nebraska's state senator and chair of the state's revenue committee, Senator Brad Von Gillern of Nebraska's 4th District. Senator, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk money. A lot of these large figures come from the State Revenue Forecasting Board.
Right.
Can you explain who they are and what their job is?
Sure. The Forecasting Board is a group of individuals that are selected and they volunteer. They provide a great service to the state. They're people that generally have a strong background in finance or business and understand economics. They're given data from the fiscal office and from the Department of Revenue that they then analyze, and then they project. They make their best projection of what revenue might be for the coming quarters and the coming years. The legislature then uses those projections to build our budgets around. So it's a service that they meet several times a year, and they provide these revenue forecasts.
So should Nebraskans believe these are accurate forecasts?
Well, the current forecast obviously has some challenges and it's interesting because the revenue forecasts have been pretty spot on. It's been the usage of tax credits and refunds that has thrown the deficit off. Part of that, we believe, is because some of those refunds and those credits have now existed for a number of years. They were distributed across the fiscal year before, and now that businesses and individuals have become accustomed to utilizing those credits, they have now learned to build those credits in earlier in the year.
Credits like the property tax refund?
Yes, yeah, property tax refund, some of the sales tax credits for incentives, some of those kinds of things. The PTET credit, the pass-through entity tax credit. So those credits are coming through earlier in the year, and that's part of what Senator Clements mentioned earlier, that he believes that the budget will somewhat right-size itself, or revenue will right-size itself somewhat as the year goes on.
So this seems like a big hill to climb next year. Where do you think you should start?
Well, I mean, obviously we start with cuts, and that's where you and I would, if you and I had a change in our income in our home, that's where you start first. You start with cuts. How do we live within the revenue that is coming into the house? And that's the first place we start. But we also have to look at growth. We also have to look at how to grow the economy, how to attract businesses here, how to retain businesses here, how to keep people in the state of Nebraska. I brought LB 1165 last year, which was an incentive bill that attracts 500 new jobs to the state of Nebraska, paying $100,000 each. It's an incentive program that doesn't pay out the incentive for 5 years till after the goals are met. So those are the kinds of things that we have to be very conscious of. I also think that we have to reconsider some things that have failed over the past few years at the unicameral, and that is reconsidering some of the elimination of sales tax exemptions. We've got some real low-hanging fruit out there that we should capture. We're behind neighbor states in cigarette tax. We're behind in vape tax, pop-in candy. Those 4 items right there would make up about half of the current deficit that we have right now. In 2023, in the special session, we tried to get rid of the exemptions on aircraft rental and limousine rental and pool services and yard services. Clearly not things that are typical consumer-related items and would not harm the average working household. So I think those have now kind of become low-hanging fruit to help apply to the general fund.
A lot of Democrats will point to the income tax
Sure.
cuts or the rate being cut. Do you think we need to freeze that?
No, I don't. I think that is seed money for the future. And the reality of that is it applies to nearly every Nebraskan. The bottom limit on that income tax reduction, it's broadly being said, and it was said earlier in your broadcast that it was a tax cut for the rich. If you make minimum wage in Nebraska and work full time, you qualify for that tax level, for that 3.99 level next year. So it impacts families from top to bottom. I am not a fan of raising taxes, and that would be a tax increase. It's a decrease that we put in place, and I will do whatever it takes to defend that tax cut.
Now, we only have about 45 seconds left, but outside of money, and if you are elected to come back, what would be your top priority next year?
Well, I'm not going to let you go outside of money because property tax relief is my #1 priority. It's been my #1 priority for the 4 years that I've been there. I think it speaks into the affordability issue that Nebraskans are facing right now. If their house payment goes up, which many of them did this last year because of taxes and insurance,
Yep.
if their house payment goes up, that takes money away from everything else that they can afford. So I will continue to focus hard on property tax relief in my next term.
What do you think is a concrete idea to move that forward?
I'm working on a bill that would be a spending cap increase, which would allow it would be a hard cap increase on spending for property tax entities such as schools, counties, and cities. So, yeah.
Senator Von Gillern, thank you so much
Very
for
good.
joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Don't go anywhere because we are hearing from another Nebraska State Senator about ballot initiatives you will vote on and, of course, his take on the deficit. First, a reminder that your comments are an important part of the show. If you want to be heard, you can email those comments to news@ketv.com. Remember, we love hearing from you. We'll be right back.